Hello and welcome back. And in the previous video, we saw that how we can start a thread which will initiate the socket communication at the server side. So this is the server side code, and we are going to start the server which is initiating the socket server here. And this is initiated by a thread. We have written a thread here. We have started a thread here using the create thread function. And inside this thread, we saw that once we call the start socket server this function, then this function was failing at this point of time when it was calling the select. While calling the select, it was getting -1, and that is why this message was coming. And it was giving like exit failure. And once we received this exit failure message here in this function, start socket communication, then we just stop the service, right? And once we stop the service will not be started, and hence you will not be able to, your server will not be able to, accept any of the client requests because still it is not ready. And that's why we have stopped all the service. We clean up all the resources. So again, let's reproduce this issue. So once you do this, okay, let me just reproduce it because I just did some code changes due to which it is not able to just reproduce it. So I'm just reproducing it again. Okay, so you can see this was the message which was coming, right? So let us see how you will fix it. Let's come to the start socket server, and let's first see the message which has come to this win svc logger. And if you see it here, you can see that the thread for socket communication not started, failed select, closing the server. So this was the message which was coming, and I reproduced it again by removing the code which I written to fix it, and I'm going to discuss that code only. Okay, so there was a small mistake while I written this piece of code in this particular class. Then there was a small mistake, and I hope you could have caught that mistake. If not, then let me explain you. But before I explain you, I would suggest you to just go through the socket communication class, each and every function, including the constructor, destructor, everything. Just go through the entire class. Like go to the declaration of the class as well. What are the methods and what are the member variables which are there? And you need to check based on those member variables, like what is the problem? What could be the issue here, right? We are failing here. Okay, once you do that, you will be able to see that we are failing here. Here you go. After the select function call. Select function call is not returning 0 or greater than 0. It is returning smaller than 0. Smaller than 0, which means -1. -1 means that there is some issue, right? If there is an issue, then we are just returning from here and we are stopping the service. That's what we saw. So you just stop the video and just come up with the solution. And after that, you can restart this video. I mean, you can unpause this video, and then you can see what fix I'm going to apply here. So I hope you must have tried it yourself. So let me show you where is the problem. You can see that we have done two things here. One is like the listener socket that we have successfully able to start here. The listener socket we were able to start here through the socket function call. So through the socket API, we got the end listener socket, which was fine. But here, before the select method, we did one thing. Like we set the listener socket to the read set FR, right? We will explain this thing. And if you have not studied about this thing, like what is read socket and what is the other sockets, these FD sets, then you can go through the other course that I have uh, on the same platform, right? So I will explain these functions again. But yeah, here you can see like I have done FD0, and I have initialized it with 0. This is basically a bit set. And then I'm putting the listener socket into this bit set. And after that, I'm putting all the client socket connections which will be received. Number of maximum client connection is 5, and I'm going to receive all these connection and the sockets here in this end client socket, right? And that is why I was just checking in here if I can put one of the client sockets into the one of the client socket value. If any client socket is there, then I should be able to put that value into this set of read socket FR, right? So I want to put it here, but the thing is that these n client sockets should not be zero, right? This should be some value. And what is happening here that there is a value in this n client socket and index. We are getting a value, and that value is a garbage value. That value is not exactly a client socket value, right? That's a garbage value. Why that is coming as a garbage? You can come to this particular class. This is the class, right? We just declared it here, this member variable, and after that we never set it to initialized it to zero, right? We never initialized each and every member of this client socket array as zero. That is why it was having a garbage value. It could be having any garbage value. Since it is a garbage value which is not equal to zero, it may be negative, it may be positive, but because of that only, it was able to put the garbage values into the client socket, right? So that's why it was this problem was coming. Right now, what we have to do one simple thing like here. What I will do for int n index is equal to 0, n index smaller than 5, and n index plus plus, right? So now what we are going to do, I'm just going to put n client socket n index is equal to 0. Okay. Now, if I do, this is the initialization. Now, before that, I need to do one more thing like n listener socket is equal to -1, right? So I have initialized listener socket as well as the n client sockets, the array of the n client sockets as well 0. So let me just rebuild it. And now if I run this service will be started successfully. So you can see this has been started and you can see the messages, right? So it started listening to the port, bind to local successfully, and no new message connection. So this is the message which is coming here, right? So if you see it here, you will be able to see no new message connection, right? So because since there is no open connection from the client, so it is getting 0. If there is any connection, then it will get greater than 0. If there was an error, then it gets -1. That's why it was getting like failed select. But now it is getting this message, which is the correct message, because until you get a connection, you will not be able to reach here. This if condition will not execute. So I hope you must have understood. I will just push this code change into the repository and you can clone it again. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye bye.